So, you want to see a professional devlog, where you could even learn a thing or two? Well, tough luck, this isn't that. These are the ramblings of a semi-competent dev who is trying far too many new technologies at once. Let's jam. First of all, we make a new project. We're using Unity 2020 beta, of course, so we can blame all of our unexpected mistakes on this unstable build. We're also using the universal render pipeline for this particular experiment. Now we just need to wait 20 minutes for Unity to do its thing. Boom! Editing magic, we're here! Make a new scene called test scene and immediately delete the pre-existing condition that is the horribly named sample scene. With that out of the way, the first logical step is to grab some models. No one wants to look at blocks for hours on end, so we head over to Kenny.nl. Kenny is the low poly god for all programmers with a severe lack of modeling prowess. We go to assets and search for space. There we go, SpaceKit. Download, ignore WinRAR pop-up and extract the Unity package. It's all a package because it imports everything for us and everything that avoids work is a godsend. Of course, all of our models are now in the hot pink phase because their materials do not support URP. So we head over to Edit, Render Pipeline, URP and upgrade materials to URP. That updated our materials, but our models are still rocking that pink. Reimporting should do the trick though. We place a spaceship of our choice into the scene, not bad. Also we create a player game object and lob the model in there. Next we spawn a wild common cube to get a sense of scale. The spaceship is absolutely massive, so we divide the scale by a factor of 10. Much better. We set all the positions to 0 because we hate those weird numbers with decimals. That's for the mathematicians to worry about. Additionally, we attach the camera to the player and move it into a better position to overlook the scene. Turn the player's model around so the ship points upwards. Realize that we never wanted to have the camera attached to the player in the first place, so we undo that. Alright, time to get started on some actual functions. We installed a new Unity input system. Wait for it to install. Boom! Editing magic, we're here. Now we look at the input debugger, and nothing shows up. After short contemplation of our life choices, we realize that we need to restart Unity first. There we go, now I can see my controller and other less important devices like a keyboard, who needs those anyways? Next we head over to the project settings and into the input system package. Create settings asset and promptly ignore all the other options here. We create a new input actions asset, add a new scheme for the gamepad and an action map for gameplay. In there we need a vector 2 value for movement. We assign a left stick to that and add a composite for the D-pad. If you wonder what any of that means, I will link a Unite talk in the description. We also need a fire button. Let's assign that to the button south on the controller. That's the X button on the PlayStation or the A button on the Xbox. Adding another style for keyboard and mouse will make debugging easier. Next we finally remember to make the player into a prefab and open it up immediately. Add the very eloquently named player script. Finally, some coding. We give the player a public float field to set our speed. Additionally, we add an input actions variable. That's the thing we just configured earlier. Instantiate the input actions in start. Then add a delegate to the move.performed event. This method will be called when the move value in the input is changed. We want to save the current value in a variable and then use it in the update. There we translate our position by the move vector times the speed times delta time. We also multiply the floats together first because that's faster than multiplying a vector with floats multiple times. We then start the game and move our left stick and nothing happens. Of course that's because we never enabled the input actions, so let's do that in Unity's conveniently named onEnable function. Let's also do the same with disable. So back into the game and it crashes. Null point exception, our favorite. That's because we instantiate the inputs in start, but we want to use them in onEnable, but onEnable is being called first. So let's move instantiating to the awake method, and voila, it works. Well, kind of. There are multiple problems here. We move left to right correctly, but not up and down on screen. Instead we move along the wrong axis. Even worse than that, we keep moving even after the controller is in neutral, we just drift off into space, and things like that is why programmers are day drinkers. So, back into the code. The Y and C movement being swapped is easily fixed. We change our move vector to be a vector 3 and simply assign the Y value from the input to the C value of the move vector. And done. It works now. We're still drifting though, so let's address that. Through serializing the move vector, we notice that it's not being set back to 0 properly. After some research, we realized that having the stick on 0 is not actually being considered a move action being performed. And by research I mean guesswork, because I couldn't find any information about it on the first page of Google, so it doesn't exist. Knowing that, we completely scrapped the move function and instead pull it manually in the update. Move all the movement crap into its own function to make it look nicer. Done. Moving on. Our ship still looks a little bland, so we will use the go-to programmer art trick. We make a new PBR shader graph. Get two input values, color and intensity. Hook color into albedo, then multiply color with intensity and hook that into emission. Save the asset and our coolish Tron style glow effect is done. Just make a material that uses this shader and toss it onto the parts of the ship that you want to make glow. Now it doesn't glow yet because we need to add a post-processing volume. Configure to have some bloom. And there we go, glowy stuff. But it doesn't appear to be working in the actual game scene and the whiskey bottle is starting to look more and more tempting even though it's only noon. So, in desperation we crank up the bloom intensity. After that doesn't work, we crank up the material intensity too. Doesn't work either. After repeating that process until the numbers are way too high, we finally realized that the problem was on the camera. This little post-processing checkbox was missing, so we tick it. Of course our ship immediately goes nuclear on us, so we crank down the intensity until we get to a level that looks pretty good. And there we go, movement and a semi-decent looking ship. Now, to spice it up a little, we add a cube to the scene. We kick it until it's in somewhat of a bullet shape. Toss our glow material on there, create a new prefab for the bullet and add a bullet script. In the bullet script we just have a speed and move it in the update. Now, back to the player. We are a public game object and a delegate to the fire event of the input. In there, we just spawn the bullet game object at the current position and rotation. Don't forget to hook up the bullet object in the editor and we're good to go. Movement, shooting and style all done.